Okay, Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. As I said, we're going to get this meeting started with a roll call, please. Commissioner Byrne?
Here.
Commissioner Sheffer?
Here.
Commissioner Gay?
Here.
Commissioner Szymanowski?
Here.
Commissioner Kaluzzi?
Here.
Commissioner Schlosser? I don't see her on there, and 6 of the commissioners are here. Commissioner Schlosser at the moment is absent. She may come on. I have not heard one way or the other from her. Good afternoon, everybody. This obviously is our COVID meeting, a Tuesday. A couple things to go over what the governor said, and then I'll turn it over to the city manager for her comments. Typically, the governor has a call now every other Tuesday with the mayors around the state. So he did not have a call with us this week. We'll have one next week. But he did have his press conference at 1:45. And the main focus of the press conference was his disappointment, number one, with the way things are going within the state. The hospitalizations have ticked up a little bit. The positivity rate, the 7-day average, has ticked up a little bit above 5%. And the 7-day average on new positives is pretty close to 97. It's at 96, which is pretty close to putting us kind of in jeopardy, maybe with the states of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. We have not heard anything from those 3 states. They typically make their decisions by this time on Tuesday, so we may hear something later on that. And just to reiterate, as far as the District of Columbia is concerned, we are still on their coronavirus list, if you will, quarantine list, through and including next Tuesday. One of the main things the governor talked about on his press conference was sports and how they're opening up sports around the state, and gave like a 3 risk categories, most risk, least risk, as well as medium risk for the schools and sports situations. And they talked a little bit about opening of schools, because some are opening as we move forward with both virtual and physical in class across the state. One of the things that affects us that the governor did speak about, however, was that as of this weekend, Labor Day weekend, and he did not give a specific date, I'm assuming probably Friday afternoon, he's going to lift restrictions on bars that he basically put those restrictions on back in July, right as July 4th was happening and there were some outbreaks. There will be an allowance that in the bars you can be open, socially distanced, seating, only serving food at the bars, but again, socially distancing, and reservations. So that should be interesting for this weekend, and I'm sure by next Tuesday we'll have some kind of an outcome of how that went over the weekend. But that is throughout the state, and again, it affects us as it does throughout the state, probably more so given the fact that it's a holiday weekend in the resort area. Other than that, meterless Monday, the last one on previously was yesterday. We have 2 more coming up, which is the 7th and the 14th. And again, have had positive comments, both from the chamber as well as a number of different businesses and people around town about that. So I think that they're looking forward to that. With that, I will turn it over to the city manager for her comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, commissioners. We just very briefly before the Chief Banks and Code Enforcement Officer, Mr. Jenny, get on, we did have a decrease this past weekend compared to the same weekend last year in August, and also a decrease from this weekend in immediate weekend preceding. So, we had approximately a $15,000 decrease in, permit and parking revenue. It goes to say, probably several reasons. Children are going back to school, families are ending their vacation time, and, but we continue to have a good populace at the beach, good attendance there, and usually towards the weekend, the Rehoboth Avenue, gets a little more crowded than it is during the week. As you've seen, any day coming in here, it's not too crowded, but, usually toward the weekend, it starts getting more crowded. With that, Chief Banks has, a report, on the lifeguard situation.
Thank you, Sharon. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, citizens. We've had, for the year so far, 26 positive cases of COVID. Last one coming this past last week. And also, we currently still have 2 lifeguards out with COVID, but they are resting at home. We were down to 32 lifeguards for the season, so 16 have gone, left to go back to school and other endeavors, but we're not planning on any beach closings at this time. We're ready for the holiday weekend, but staffing levels will start to decrease as people are responding back. So while we're talking about staffing levels, I'll just mention that 2 weeks ago, we did have one seasonal officer was our first that be tested positive for COVID, but he's back at work, and we are down to 10 seasonal officers, cadets out there walking, and it's sporadic. When I say 10, like we only were able to have one working today because we're back at school in hours, but 10 will be working this holiday weekend, and after that, we'll be down to 5 that work the weekends. And so a little slimmer than we've had in past years. Again, there's many different reasons, but a lot of it is online learning and going back home. And that is all I have, Sharon.
Thank you. And if Dennis can just give a report on the restaurants, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. As of our last reporting of restaurant outdoor seating, we've had 7 new applications come in, bringing us to a total of 48 applications overall, 44 of which have been approved, 38 with alcohol.
Thank you. That's
great. Thank you very much. And one more thing, what the governor really was impressing upon anybody that was on the press conference this afternoon was the wearing of masks, pretty much so across the state. Recently, the governor changed one of his edicts out there to push the age limit down to 5, so that any child 5 years and older up to 18 would have to wear a mask. And they're pushing for masks across the board. When they spoke about sports activities, he talked about the fundamentals of wearing a mask and socially distancing, whether you're playing baseball or tennis or anything else that's going forward. They will be pushing that across the board. And then he also did mention that they have been increasing their enforcement across the board, across the state, as far as businesses following the procedure, the protocol of wearing masks, of socially distancing, whether inside or outside the businesses. And they have been giving out fines and recognizing some of the good restaurants or the good shops that are following the rules, as well as providing citations to the businesses that are not. With that, any questions from any of the commissioners, or maybe we can just go to Carol Everhart. I know she has a couple things that she would like to add. Max, if you could let Carol Everhart in. Thank you. Carol?
Okay. Can you hear me, Mayor, Commissioners?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Just a few things. First, thank you again for the Meterless Mondays. I've had very positive responses from that, and they have, the business community has certainly reminded me to thank you for allowing that to continue. As far as occupancy goes, downtown, you were 77% full. That's an overnight stay on Saturday night. And your year-to-date comparison of occupancy for a Saturday night, in 2019, we had 89,385 rooms occupied. This year, same time frame, 57,631. And the only other thing that I have to add is we are meeting with Senator Carper this Friday. He has asked for the information as far as occupancy goes, and he's also asked for the losses that have been incurred that I'm aware of and that the chamber has experienced. And lastly, the state grants will open September 8th. So the application will be online for businesses and most nonprofits to apply for a state grant. And these are grants provided that you meet all the requirements for your category that you're applying for. And other than that, unless you have questions, that's what I have to provide.
Great, thank you, Carol. And just for everybody's edification, I have heard from a number of the businesses that they're very excited about the state grants because especially as we're going into the end of the season and it's been such a difficult season and a difficult spring, a lot of people have taken PPP loans and hopefully those will be deferred for people. But these grants are very positive for extra expenses related to COVID, and you know, you could pay rent or whatever. So these businesses are pretty excited about it if you qualify. And as Carol mentioned, you know, they start, you know, the first week in September, and then they go again in maybe October. And the state wants to spend these as quickly as possible. And I'm not sure if they're thinking about having another round of grants, but these businesses, as you speak to them, as anybody speaks to them, make sure that they're all online. I know the chamber has done a very good job of getting the information out. SBA has and the state has, but the more we can get the information out to people, the better. And speaking of which, just to let you know too, the governor continues and the state continues to ramp up testing around the state in all 3 counties. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that schools are opening, and I think they want to get all the students tested as well. So that may be one of the reasons on the uptick of the numbers. But either way, the governor is still focused on, you know, getting way below 5%, really below 3%, and getting the new 7-day average on the positive new cases down below 50. So that pushes on, and again, people keep focusing on the masks. Commissioner Paluzzi.
Yes, I have a question for Carol. Carol, you had a quote for, I guess it was occupancy, 2019 versus this year. Was that wasn't just for downtown, that was for Dewey and Rehoboth? Is that what those numbers represented?
That is basically 19971 zip code, which would be Midway to the middle of the Indian River Bridge and from Midway into Rehoboth. So that big V is 19971, and those hotels within that zip code, that's what you're looking at. So for Saturday night, it would be the 89,385 versus the 57,631.
Do you also keep statistics separately for just downtown?
We do. So you were 77% occupancy this past weekend.
Okay. Versus last year was, and did you say 85?
I can grab that for you. I didn't pull that, but I can pull that for you.
You can just send me an email, that's fine.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just a minor correction. Delaware is not currently on the DC quarantine list.
Yeah.
Now, it's possible that could change as they look at the new numbers the governor presented today. But But I believe that the Delaware was taken off of that toward the end of last week.
I did not see that. I thought that they were not taking that off, and I know a number of people had asked them to, but I did not see that. But thank you for correcting me.
Okay, well, we can confirm that, certainly. So, second item, if Dennis is still available, the governor recently talked about, or one of his staff talked about, the huge number of restaurant inspections that they're conducting across the state to make sure that restaurant management and staff are compliant with COVID regulations, mask wearing, et cetera. I'm curious if Dennis is doing that and what he's finding in our downtown.
Yeah, hi there. So we've been doing some periodic inspections ourselves, and for the most part are finding everyone in compliance. And usually what we do find, if they're not in compliance, is an employee in a restaurant not wearing a mask properly, not covering their nose, but they're quick to correct that when we point it out. And then also, we did have a visit from a state health department official this past weekend who did some spot checks themselves, and they found pretty much the same thing we found. It's not rampant or a lot, but they found the same things we've been finding.
Yes, and I would echo that. I've just going around to certain businesses throughout town and restaurants and different types of businesses in general, and they've been, for the most part, very compliant. Again, you might find one or two employees here or there that the masks are on but not wearing it correctly. And I think you even saw some news reports recently even complimenting us for businesses making sure that's enforced.
Yeah, that's great to hear, Chief. And Dennis, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Byrne. Commissioner Gay.
Yeah, first of all, I was under the impression also, to go along with what Dick just said, that we were off the DC list, that I think we were back on for a day last week and then back off again. So I do hope that's still the case. And also following up on what Commissioner Cluzy asked about in the data, and Carol, I don't know if you have this in front of you or not, but in addition to wanting to know the downtown, I know you said the occupancy was 77% last weekend. I'm curious how that relates not only to last year, but to the previous weekend, because I know for a while we were kind of on the upswing with the percentage increasing a little bit each weekend. And then my second question for data, and again, you may not have this at your fingertips, but it was interesting to hear the cumulative data for year to date. And I'm wondering if you have the cumulative year to date for in town as well.
Okay, am I unmuted?
No, you're on.
I'm on, okay. I can tell you I did poll last year. You were at 99% occupancy for the same weekend last year. So you went from 99% to 77% for that particular weekend. The year to date, I can probably pull up for you. Tell you, I have to pull that for you, Susan, but I'll be happy to do that. If you want to check back with me in a minute, I'll see if I can pull it quickly.
Okay. Appreciate it.
And I just did check, apparently on August 27th, DC did remove Delaware from their list.
Yeah.
Thank you. While Carol is checking on that, any other questions from any of the commissioners? And just go ahead, please.
Mayor, I guess this is a question for the city manager and perhaps Kevin, but then I hope that it would go into a further conversation with us. As Labor Day is approaching us, and I assume they plan on taking the barriers down sometime soon, what's the process we're going to have to moving forward with taking the barriers down and et cetera, but continuing to allow the outdoor dining? If we could maybe just get some feedback from the city manager or the public works director on some guidance on how they plan for this to work.
So, we're discussing that now. I think in, the near future after Labor Day, we'll have, plan in place, as far as the barriers. I think right now we still have 50 that are, rented, or 100, that are rented. You know, we don't want to do anything, until we have a definite plan. As far as, you know, it's been mentioned that outdoor heaters, as far as I'm concerned, they'll be permitted, you know, as the weather, changes. But for right now, it's status quo. We do, you know, want to keep up some, safety precautions and, some measures as long as the outdoor seating is working, which, you know, it has been for several months now. Whether or not, you know, the new, commissioners, once they're seated, want to change any of that, that certainly remains to be seen. But, as far as, staff concerned right now, we don't have any. That's been working well. And we've been monitoring that, as Dennis has said.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Carol Everhart, are you back?
I am, and I did find the comparison to last year. So you were at, in 2018, January to the end of August, you were at 87,954 occupied rooms on Saturday night. And in 19, you were at 82,921.
Thank you. Does that answer the question that, you
And
had, Commissioner Gay?
then what this year is cumulative.
Well, that is your 89,385, 57,031.
Okay.
So you have always been in those 80s and above until this year, and now we're down in the 40s and 50s.
Okay, and that's in town cumulative.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
That's in town cumulative?
Oh, not in town. No, I'd have to run that different, but I can tell you that you were at 99% full.
Yes. Well, I did hear that. Yes.
Weekend. Yeah. Exactly. And I can tell you that you are running, well, you know, when you look at this, you have to understand that a place like Dewey Beach might have far less rooms, so their percentage is higher. So they may have been at 86%, 90%. Route 1, it's more to your numbers of rooms. So we look at that percentage, and you know, they're at 89%. So it is, there's a visible difference. There's a notable difference.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And as far as next week goes, we do have our commissioners meeting on Tuesday next week at the workshop at 9 o'clock. And so therefore we will not have a COVID meeting specific in the afternoon next Tuesday. That'll be part of the agenda for the workshop. Any other questions or comments by any of the commissioners? If not, we can adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.